Welcome back to the deep dive. Our goal, as always, is really to cut through the noise and get you those insights that, well, that genuinely matter. So today we're starting with a question. And honestly, it might sound a bit too simple, maybe. What if a really powerful tool for your health, for your well-being, has actually been right under your feet? Or, at your fingertips this whole time?
It's an idea that feels both ancient and really cutting edge, doesn't it? Because today, yeah, we're diving deep into grounding, or sometimes people call it earthing.
Mhm.
And this isn't just like walking barefoot for fun. It's this intriguing idea that direct physical contact with the earth, it might have real measurable positive impacts on our health.
Exactly, and that's what we're going to unpack. We'll look at what the science is saying, the latest science. We'll explore its history. It's actually pretty surprising. Get into the how and the why it seems to work, fundamentally, and show you the ways it could potentially impact your daily life. We've got a great stack of sources here, and I think, yeah, you're definitely in for some aha moments. So let's dig in.
Okay, so to really get grounding, let's start with what we actually mean by it. Basically, grounding refers to the positive physiological effects that happen when there's direct skin contact between us, our bodies, and the Earth's surface. It's really about reconnecting with the planet's natural electrical energy.
And what's fascinating, like you said, it's not some new fad. Our research shows these ideas.
Yeah.
They go back maybe 150 years. You can picture like a visionary doctor back in the late 19th century, noticing patients seem to get better, various health benefits, just from touching the ground. It suggests this kind of intuitive wisdom, right? Long before modern medicine took over.
Absolutely. And those early observations, they sparked quite a bit of interest. There was a time it was even seen as a valuable therapy. But you know how it goes with natural approaches sometimes. That initial excitement kind of faded, pharmaceuticals advanced, we started living indoors more, and the whole idea just sort of slipped into the background for a while.
But it's back, and with real force, it seems. It's amazing how ideas cycle around, isn't it? Grounding has seen this huge resurgence lately in, popular interest and in the scientific world. And this has kicked off a whole new wave of research with scientists trying to pin down the exact physiological, the biological effects of touching the Earth.
And that renewed scientific focus is, well, it's crucial. The literature we looked at mentions, thousands of reported cases worldwide, anecdotes, consultation notes, showing positive effects linked to grounding. But, and this is important, we need to be clear about the current state of the science.
Right, so we have all these compelling stories, these real-world experiences, which you can't just dismiss. But what about the hard data, the really rigorous studies?
Yeah, so the gold standard studies, randomized, double-blind, controlled trials. There aren't actually that many of them yet. And the ones that exist often use fairly small groups of people. So what that means is, while the positive signs are definitely encouraging, definitely worth paying attention to, we should probably hold our conclusions with a little bit of, let's say, scientific reserve for now. It really just highlights the need for bigger, more comprehensive studies to really nail down grounding's potential.
That's a really fair point, important distinction. But even with that call for more research, there seems to be this core idea emerging about how it might work. And it ties right back to our modern lives, creating what some sources call this profound electrical imbalance in us. Think about it. We wear rubber-soled shoes insulators, walk on synthetic carpets insulators. We live and work in buildings with insulating floors, wear synthetic clothes mostly. And we're just constantly surrounded by electromagnetic fields from, well, everything, phones, Wi-Fi, computers, even hospital gear.
Right. And this constant disconnection, this insulation from the earth, it seems to affect our basic biology. Think of your body not just chemically, but also as this complex bioelectrical system. When we're insulated, it's like that system starts running inefficiently, slowly losing its natural electrical balance. The key issue seems to be a depletion of negative electrical charges. Specifically, we're talking about electrons, and these electrons are apparently really beneficial for our health, foundational even.
Ah, okay. So we're literally running low on these crucial electrons, like a battery that's draining and never gets properly topped up. So
Yeah.
what happens when we do reconnect? How does grounding actually, recharge us?
Exactly like a recharge. When we make that direct contact, bare feet on grass, soil, sand, maybe hands in the garden soil or just lying on the ground, we connect to what's essentially an infinite surplus of electrons from the Earth itself. It's this huge natural reservoir of negative charge.
So we're plugging ourselves back into the planet's own power grid, in a way.
That's a great analogy, yeah. This flow of electrons helps to recharge our internal deposits, basically, restoring our body's natural electrical state. It's like hitting reset, letting your cells function optimally again, giving them that fresh spark.
Okay, so we get these electrons, but the big deal, the why this matters part, it really comes down to what these electrons do once they're in our system, right? And the sources point to two really critical functions.
The first one, and maybe the most basic, is energy production. Electrons are described as an essential ingredient for our mitochondria. Remember those? The little power plants inside almost every cell. They generate the energy for literally everything we do. Thinking, moving, healing, all of it. If those power plants don't get enough of their primary fuel, these electrons, well, mitochondrial function can start to falter.
So if the cell power plants are sluggish, it's not just feeling a bit tired, is it? It's more like a city having brownouts.
That's a good way to put it, yeah. A lack of this fundamental energy can lead to that deep fatigue, a general feeling of decline. Even, some sources suggest, a loss of mental sharpness, creativity, memory. So getting enough electrons seems absolutely key to keeping those cellular engines running smoothly and just supporting our overall vitality.
That makes total sense. If the basics aren't working right, everything else struggles. And the second big role for these electrons, that seems just as important, especially today.
It really is. The second crucial job is neutralizing excess free radicals. Now, free radicals aren't all bad. We need to be clear on that. Our immune system uses them, to fight off microbes, repair injuries. They're part of our defense toolkit.
But it's the excess that's the problem, right? When too many build up and start causing chaos.
Exactly. The trouble starts when there's an excess, and they basically turn against us. That's oxidative stress. It leads to cell damage, tissue damage, and it's a big factor in accelerated aging. When these excess free radicals aren't neutralized, they're linked to a whole bunch of health issues, cardiovascular problems, respiratory issues, skin problems, and maybe most significantly uncontrolled chronic inflammation. It's like this damaging ripple effect.
Wow, okay. That explanation really connects the dots. Understanding this electrical mechanism helps make sense of the really broad range of positive effects people report with grounding. And what's neat is that these benefits aren't just subjective feelings, right? They're also being measured objectively.
Yeah, the list is pretty extensive. Let's start with pain. Many people report a clear improvement in chronic pain. Like there was one study looking at DOMS delayed onset muscle soreness, that ache you get, say, in your calves after a hard workout. The grounded people in that study reported significantly less pain, so a real tangible effect on discomfort.
That's definitely relatable. And another big one people talk about is better sleep. So many of us struggle with that. People describe falling asleep faster, waking up less during the night, feeling more rested and energetic in the morning. I mean, who wouldn't want that?
And it's more than just feeling refreshed. Good sleep is crucial, especially for things like neurodegenerative diseases, Alzheimer's, for example. Poor sleep can actually make those conditions worse, speed up decline. So better sleep is huge.
The sources also mention something pretty traumatic. Enhanced wound healing. There's this description of a very beautiful study on a diabetic ulcer. Those can be notoriously hard to heal, right? Because of poor circulation, chronic inflammation. This specific ulcer hadn't healed for months, despite other treatments. But when they introduced grounding, it started to heal.
Yeah.
And eventually closed completely.
Yeah. That's a powerful example of how this simple connection might boost the body's own healing power. It really is. And logically, following from that improved electron supply we talked about, many people report just feeling more energetic, more vital. That links right back to better mitochondrial function. We also see mentions of improvements in hormonal issues, menstrual symptoms in women suggests a kind of broader balancing effect on the whole system.
And even more recently, right? A 2022 study suggested grounding helped with COVID-19 symptoms and recovery. It's just the range of reported effects is kind of amazing. But one of the most interesting bits, physiologically speaking, is how grounding seems to affect our nervous system.
Yes, that's a key impact area. Grounding seems to help shift us away from the sympathetic nervous system state. That's your fight or flight mode, stress, alertness, and more towards the parasympathetic state. That's the rest and digest, relaxation, recovery mode. And this isn't just a feeling. It's been measured objectively. Things like skin conductance, blood oxygen levels, pulse rate, and heart rate variability, or HRV.
HRV. Can you quickly explain what that is again for anyone not familiar?
Sure. Heart rate variability, HRV, it's basically the tiny variations in time between your heartbeats. It's not about how fast your heart is beating overall, but how regular or irregular those gaps between beats are. Generally, a higher HRV means your nervous system is more adaptable, more resilient, healthier. It shows a better balance between that stress response and the relaxation response.
Okay, so higher HRV equals healthier, more adaptable system. And there was that incredible 2017 study in the US with premature babies in incubators. They grounded them using a special device and saw improved HRV, a shift towards that parasympathetic dominance, which, as you said, is vital for controlling inflammation, especially in the gut, and maybe preventing that awful condition, necrotizing enterocolitis.
Yes, necrotizing enterocolitis. It's a really serious intestinal injury in preemies, often life-threatening. The idea that grounding could help manage inflammation and potentially prevent something so severe, it really underlines how fundamental this electrical connection might be, even for the tiniest, most vulnerable humans.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah, incredibly powerful. Another study found something related to stress hormones, right? Cortisol.
Yeah.
After sleeping grounded for, what was it, 6 weeks, people's cortisol rhythms naturally synchronized.
That's right. Getting that natural rhythm back, lowest around midnight, peaking around 8 a.m., is so important. Our modern stressed lives often throw that completely out of whack. And since stress impacts pretty much everything, sleep, immunity, mood harmonizing cortisol can have really wide-ranging benefits.
Okay, shifting gears slightly but still crucial. Cardiovascular health. There was a small study back in 2008 suggesting grounding could lower systolic blood pressure, helping with hypertension.
Yes, and then a 2012 study looked even closer at the blood itself. It showed grounding increased something called the zeta potential of red blood cells. Now, zeta potential sounds technical, but it's essentially a measure of the negative electrical charge on the surface of those cells.
Like a little force field around each cell.
Kind of, yeah. When that negative charge is stronger, the red blood cells naturally repel each other more. They don't clump together as easily. This reduces the risk of clots forming and basically leads to more fluid blood, which is obviously a big plus for overall cardiovascular health, lowering risks of heart attack, stroke.
Wow, that's a very direct, measurable effect on blood flow. Fascinating. And related to circulation, what about the beauty effect people sometimes talk about? Is there anything to that?
Well, yes, the sources explain it scientifically. They've used thermography heat imaging to show grounding improves blood circulation and lymphatic circulation too, not just in the legs or torso, but noticeably in the face as well. Better circulation means, more even blood distribution, better oxygen delivery to tissues, better waste removal. And for the face, that translates into a better appearance, a more radiant, more youthful look because the skin is literally healthier and better nourished from within. So yeah, there's a real physiological reason for that observed effect.
Science making us look good, love it. But maybe the biggest umbrella benefit, the one that sort of influences everything else, is inflammation control.
Absolutely crucial. Grounding seems to help regulate inflammation. And this isn't just anecdotal, it's been confirmed with thermography again, with blood cell counts, looking at levels of inflammatory markers, cytokines in the blood. And we need to remember, while acute inflammation is good, it's how we heal. Chronic, excessive inflammation is now seen as a key driver behind so many modern diseases.
Right, not just minor things. We're talking everything from maybe getting fewer colds all the way up to potentially impacting risks for things like cancer, neurodegenerative diseases. So grounding's ability to help dial down that chronic inflammation.
Yeah, you can see how that would create a positive cascade effect throughout the entire body.
So with all this compelling stuff, the history, the science, even if more is needed, the sheer range of benefits people report, the obvious next question is, how do we actually do it? How do we get grounded? The research basically points to two main ways. The first is the simple, natural way. Biological grounding, they call it. Just direct skin contact with the earth. So yeah, walking barefoot on grass, dirt, rock, sand, or using your bare hands like gardening, farming, or even, lying right on the sand or grass. Key is skin to earth.
And for the best effect, naturally the strongest electron transfer, the sources suggest aiming for moderate temperatures and higher humidity. Think spring, autumn typically. Oh, and a quick tip for indoors, since dry indoor air can make that electrical imbalance worse. Using houseplants or a humidifier to boost humidity can actually help a bit, even inside.
Good tip. But what if you can't easily get outside barefoot? Or you're stuck indoors most of the day? That's where the second type comes in, right? Non-biological or artificial grounding.
Exactly. This uses modern tech to create that same connection. We're talking about special grounding cables, conductive wrist or ankle bands, patches you stick on, mats for under your desk or feet, even special sheets or systems for your bed. These devices basically connect your body to the Earth's ground via a wire, usually plugged into the ground port of a standard electrical outlet. They replicate that natural connection.
Okay, so there are options for almost everyone, it sounds like.
When you really look at all the information available, I mean, thousands of positive reports, the growing science, even with caveats, and the fact that it seems incredibly safe, very low risk, grounding really does emerge as potentially a very powerful, very accessible tool, something that could help improve health, well-being on lots of different levels.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Considering how much our modern lives insulate us, disconnect us from that natural electrical field of the Earth, this whole deep dive leaves us with a pretty important question, I think, for everyone listening. What small, simple change could you make, starting today maybe, to reconnect, to potentially recharge your own internal battery? Whether that's just kicking off your shoes in the park for 5 minutes or maybe looking into one of those grounding mats, the potential upside seems, well, pretty significant and definitely worth considering. Thanks for diving deep with us today.